Good morning, everybody. Um, uh, Today is going to be a continuation of lesson 7. We'll be working with a pen tool today. Hopefully, if you've done the practice and get a sense of how the pen tool works, then you'll have a better understanding of how you create our final project here. So if I click here, like so, this is what the swan's going to look like when we're done. They've made the beak and the little dark portion where the eyes belong. They've also created the wing for us, so you don't have to do that, but you should have the skills to do it when we're done. They've also created the background, nice background for us. So they've done a lot for us already. What you want to do before you start working on this is make sure that you have the artwork layer selected, that you're working on that. And if it helps to lock the other layers, then that's fine. If you leave them turned off, you won't be able to draw on them anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And let me go back because I have the wrong file open. So I'm going to bring that open again. Yeah, make sure that I have artwork selected. There we go. So as I mentioned yesterday, that the final piece of this or section of this lesson is kind of like connect the dots. That's what we're doing. And these are some places, areas where they've placed anchor points are absolutely necessary. I will try my best to explain parts where maybe they're arbitrary and you could add additional anchor points if you need to. Excuse me. But remember, I believe I said the other day that really the key to using this tool is to try to use as few anchor points as possible and you'll get more elegant curves. And if you want to, you can always use it in conjunction with the curvature tool. And the curvature tool, you can go back and forth. So let's go ahead and get started. It's a little bit difficult to see the little background image that they provided for us, but you should be able to see where we want to place the anchor points. So I'm going to select the pen tool, and I'm going to come over here where the point A, that's our starting point. And remember what we worked with yesterday, that if you know ahead of time that it's going to be curved, you need to pull out, click and drag and pull out the direction handle, or as I traditionally call it, a tangent handle, because they are tangents to the curve. So I'll click here and drag. Okay, and release the mouse. And again, I get a sense of how this is going to curve. And you can see that as I move up to point B, it's not going to quite match the path underneath. So what I need to do is click and drag, and this is what you would have to do, okay, is to click and drag until it matches that path. And remember that if you move the mouse to the left or to the right or pull it down, at all of those mouse movements affect the curvature of the path. So once I get it to the point where it matches, then I release the mouse. But remember, because it's pulled out a direction handle for the next section of the curve, I don't want it to be curved. I need it to be just a corner point. And you can see that right here, that if I were just to click here, it would be a very rounded curve. So in order to eliminate this half of the direction handle, I hold down the Option or Alt key, depending on whether you are on a PC or a Mac, and I click on the anchor point. That now disengages the handles so that they don't work kind of like a teeter-totter. So now what I want to do, actually I didn't want to do that, my bad. I'm going to go ahead. I actually want to move the direction of it because it will be slightly curved here. So I hold down the Option key and I click on that direction handle and I move it down here. So it's creating a slight curve down here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click again, and then I can click here. I don't want to click, I want to hold down the Option key, and I want to click and drag and pull out that tangent handle. So again, it curves. Then I move up to point D, and I click and I drag until it matches the underlying curve. I'm in good shape, but notice that it wants to curve again. I don't want it to curve. So this time I hold down the Option key and I click. There we go. Now I can move to point E and click, and I get a straight line. But I know that it's going to curve up here to the next point when I go to, before I go to F. So I need to pull out a direction handle. Otherwise, it's just going to go and move in a straight line. So I hold down the Option key or Alt key, and I click and I drag, and I'm pulling it up here. Now you'll notice that it begins to curve in that direction. I'm going to go ahead and move the illustration up just a little bit. And I'm going to then click and drag on point F to pull that up so it matches that curve. Okay. Very nice. So I get that nice undulating kind of serpentine curve. Now we're going to go all the way from point F to G. Some of you may want to put an anchor point here and then continue, but it's really unnecessary. What I can do is click and drag on point G all the way to this little red dot, and it matches underneath perfectly. Now notice by doing that, I can't see the underlying path that they provided for us, the template. Now, it hasn't been a problem up to this point, but if you forget, as I often do, the default settings for the fill and the stroke are white fill, black stroke. So I'm going to come over here with the fill in the foreground and click the no fill so I can see everything underneath. Okay. Now they want us to go from, we're just going to cut this off for the time being. So to do that, I hold down the Option or Alt key on the PC, and I click here. And again, it's going to be curved again. So I need to hold down the Option or Alt key and click and drag to pull out that direction handle. Now I can go to the next point, which is I, and drag until it matches down here. And now I can go to, now I may have to change this, but I'm going to go from here. I'm going to go from point I to J, and I'm going to click and drag. And notice that it doesn't match. So rather than go back and fix that now, I will fix that later when I'm done. And now what I want to do is I want to go all the way back to point A and close the path. And if you recall from yesterday, that when you move over the start point, you know, you're working on the end point and you move to the start point, and the lower right-hand corner, you see a little circle, open circle, or empty circle. That means that you're creating a closed path. So now what I can do is I can click and I can drag, and until that direction handle matches the bottom down there, and I'm done. Now, because it is a closed path, I can come back and I can edit as much as I want. And to edit, I'm going to go ahead and I need to select the direct selection tool, which is the little white arrow tool. And I'm going to click on this little path right here. And what I need to do is I need to click on that direction handle and pull it down until it matches the underlying path. That works pretty nicely. The other thing that you can do too is that if I go back to the pen tool and I move over this path, if I click on here, notice that it added an anchor point. And if I move back to the direct selection tool, you can see how it comes to a point. Okay. One of the other things that we can do is we can remove that point. So I'll click here and I'll click there. If you want, you can use the curvature tool and I can move over here and I can bend that up or down. Notice that it's going to affect the other paths, the other part of the paths. So you do need to be careful. It will just require some additional work on your part, and it did add an anchor point. Okay, so that's one of the ways of doing that. Another way to do that would be when I was actually creating this, I could have moved up. So let me try again with the pen tool. Because I don't want to add an anchor point. I'm going to come back over here. No, it's not going to allow me to do it. So that's fine for right now. But you can arc these when you're in the middle of this. Now, one of the things that they want us to do is to go ahead and add another anchor point after the fact. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to click like so, and then pull this up or down. Okay, so let's go back with the direct selection tool. And I can either pull this down like so, and I want to change it so that it's flat at the bottom. So I use the convert anchor point tool, click and drag. Notice that it changed the configuration here. So I'm going to go back to my direct selection tool and move this into position like so, so that it's flat at the bottom. But now it no longer matches here. So what I need to do is I need to use the convert anchor point tool, and I need to click and drag like so until it matches. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key and click so that that removed. I blew it. Let me come back here. I'm going to go back and I just need to, I'll move this in like so. There we go. So now it sort of matches. Okay. Now, one last thing that we can do here is that notice this is what I was going for. And I don't know why it didn't do that before. When I have the convert anchor point tool, when I move over that straight line, notice the lower right-hand corner, in the lower right-hand corner of the black arrow, I see a little arc. So if I click on there and I move it, I can move it up or down to create a nice smooth arc. And that's really what they want us to do here until this covers a portion of the beak. Okay, so we can move this like so. And if we need to, we can always adjust our direction handles. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up, zoom in a little bit so I can see this a little bit better. And I want this, you'll notice that this comes to a slight point. So with the direct selection tool, I can come back here and I can adjust this a little bit until this fits a little bit better, like so. So it's all a matter of making subtle little changes. And whoops, wrong one. Come back here, let's select path, make sure that I click on the direction handle. And I'm going to pull this over like so until I get a nice smooth transition. The same here, you know, keep manipulating it just a little bit until I get that working the way I want it. So now I can zoom back out. And if I want to continue to adjust and manipulate the path a little bit, you'll notice that it doesn't quite fit here. So I can come back and click on this one. I can pull this in just a little bit. Again, it depends on how accurate you need to be or you want to be. So I've completed the swan. Now I can come back to layers and I can first deselect my path. Since we do want it to be white fill now, I'll go ahead and I'll select the path again. And in the properties panel, in the fill, come up here and we'll select white. And that covers our template. And then I can go ahead and close that, deselect, and I can go to layers. I can turn off the visibility of the template. I can turn on the visibility of the wing and see how that works. And you can see that I need to make an adjustment here. I need to make change the arc of that just a little bit. So in order to match the wing here. So I'll work on that. Let's go ahead and turn on the background so that that's working. So notice right here, this is a little bit awkward. So as I hover over part of this, I'm going to work with the convert anchor point tool again. And as I move over that, I should get that and pull it up. No, it's not working. So let me turn off the wing. Let's move over that again. There we go. And I'm going to bend that up just a little bit. And then let's turn the wing back on and see if it matches. And it doesn't. So one of the things that I could do is I could move the wing over. If that suits me, I could continue to adjust. So maybe that works for me until it fits. I'll just click on this direction handle until it matches the curve underneath and I get a nice smooth transition. So again, it requires a little bit of futzing. And again, maybe I can select the wing again and I can enlarge it a little. That might work a little bit better. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's go back, select it again. There we go. Hold down the shift key just to make that a smoother transition. And that works pretty well for us. So that's it. If I undo that, let's turn that off again. Turn off the wing and see if I'm covering anything up. And I am a little bit. But I think it wants it to be covered anyway. So let me turn the wing back on. Let's undo this a couple of times. Okay, so it is intended to cover it up. Let me go back here. Finish. Let's turn on the wing here. Yeah, they really cover things up here quite a bit. This is the end one. So they've really manipulated this significantly. I think mine looks a little bit better, to be quite honest. So we can see the little tail feathers here. That's pretty much it. Unless, Araya, do you have any questions for me? I told you this wouldn't take long today. And then if you want, you can lock everything down. But it does take practice to feel comfortable using this. It is the hardest tool in Adobe Illustrator to master. And as I said, for years and years and years, the pen tool was the core of Adobe Illustrator. It lied at the heart of the program. So if you didn't know how to use the pen tool, you didn't know how to use Adobe Illustrator. So while it's less important than it used to be, it's still an incredibly important tool to learn. So let me go back and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause my recording here for a second. Okay, so before I leave today, question is, how do we turn in assignments? There's a couple of different ways you can do that. The preferred way is that we use Google Chrome, or Google Chrome, no, our shared Google Drive. So if you didn't send me an email, I wouldn't have added you to our shared folder, and it's the Art 186 right here. So when I double click in here, you should have access to it. And then what I've done is that when I received an email from you, let me go ahead, and I have a folder myself in here. If I double click on it, I would create a folder for you. And then I would go ahead and I would add two new folders. One would be one for lessons. And I would prefer that you put the Adobe Illustrator file in there. The other one is for the assignments, and of which we have 3. And the mask assignment was due. And then at the end of next week, the Tokidoki assignment will be due. So I'll create a new folder for myself on here. And this one I'll name assignments. Okay. So if you have a Google email or a Gmail account, where you find that is in the upper right-hand corner here. See the little 9 dots here, the little configuration, the array of 9 dots. When you click on here, you can see that these are for Google Apps. And if we move down here, you can see what your Google Drive looks like. Okay, so if I click on there, I can do that, and I'm already in Google Drive. And you can see that I have lots and lots of shared folders for each of my classes. So another way to turn it in that will work. And you can turn it in either as an AI file, that's Adobe Illustrator, or a PDF file right now. That if we switch to Canvas, okay, you should be able to upload it to Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to grades, for example. And let's see if anybody else has turned in their assignment right here. Because I have graded everything, at least everything that I had this weekend. No, so you can upload it to your folder in Google Drive, and then it will email me, alert me, and then what I can do is it will indicate right here, for example, that Araya, where are you, Araya? Have turned in your project, and here it is. That's Ariana. Okay. Manoj. There you go, Araya Manoj. So that will alert me, and I'll see a little icon here, and then I will be able to grade it. So does that answer your question, Araya? Give each one a try. Email me at kirkmillerart@gmail.com, and I will send you an invitation to join our Gmail or our Google Drive folder. And then if you have difficulty doing that, then use Canvas to upload your file. Okay. And then as soon as I'm alerted, I'll grade it and get your grade back to you. Okay, okie doke. So that's it. We're done for today. Next week, we're going to work on color, gradients, patterns, a whole variety of things. Live paint, You name it, whole bunch of things here. I'm checking. It's a fairly lengthy lesson, very complete. How to create your own custom palette, variety of ways of manipulating colors. Very powerful tools in Illustrator for manipulating and working with color. Really, really powerful. And for those of you who have aspirations of becoming graphic designers, when you're designing packaging or you're working for clients that have very specific needs regarding their colors for the company and that sort of thing, it will be much easier for you to create and match the colors of that they want. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. So I'm going to say goodbye, and you guys are free to go. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, and if you have questions, please email me, and if you need a private Google meeting or Zoom meeting, we can do that. So just let me know. So that's it. Goodbye. Talk to you. Have a good weekend.